Hello everyone, welcome to the 14th tutorial in this series of Complete Guide to React.js. In this tutorial, we will see how to set a state and how to retrieve the values from a state which is defined in a class, and what are the best ways to retrieve the contents from state. So at first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new folder in this source. So let me name as tutorial 14, and inside this I'm going to create a new file called counter.js. So I'm planning to um, use the code snippet which I have discussed in the previous tutorial. So I'm going to keep RCC and tab. It is going to create a class components for me, and I'm also going to create a constructor. So for that con, which is the shortcut, and I'm just going to click on the same. So over here, I'm just going to mention counter hyphen, and then I'm just going to save it, and later in the app.js I'm going to import it. So if I'm going to import it, I have to use import and name of the counter file which we are going to import, and dot slash, because it is one folder in which it is this particular content is present, and I'm going to write tutorial 14, that is the folder that we have created. It is already there, and slash and counter is the file. So over here I'm going to mention counter with an empty tag. So you have mentioned in capital, so it should be in caps case. So that's it, and we'll take a look at the file. Yeah, the counter that we mentioned in the div tag, it is seen over here. So I'll do some examples like let me create one state, and I mean, when I mean state variables, this dot state equal to, and let me add a variable called as count colon 0. So I want to increase this particular count each and every time a button is being clicked. Let me create one button inside the file like this, button, and I'm going to keep a name for this button, say click me, and I'm going to have a on click script, and this on click should be in a camel case on capital C, and in the JavaScript you will find that it is in small, but over here in JSX that we have to use a camel case over here. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be putting a pointer like this, and this dot increment is the file, sorry, is the function that would be called if I click the button. So like that I'm going to keep like this, and I'm going to mention that particular file, sorry, function. And in this function, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the counter value of it. Before that, I'll put the value in which it needs to be displayed once I click this particular button, which is nothing but the state, which is whichever I have declared earlier. So in this, what I am going to do is, we know that in the previous tutorial we have seen that a state variable, whatever the content that is present, it should be declared in constructor, and whereas if you are setting a values, you need to use setState. Say for example, right now, let's we use state itself and see what happens, because I want to give some synopsis like how it is going to work in React. So this is the usual way in JavaScript you will be adding it, and the same way I'm doing it. And I also put a console.log to show what is the value of that particular count. So this is the usual way, right? So I'm executing the same. So over here, click me button is there, and the counter is also there. I'm just going to click it. I've clicked 4 times, and you can see that this variable is setting the count values 1, 2. I mean, each and every time when I click, it is getting increased. But in JSX, if you take a look, the counter values, whichever that we have examined over here, it is still remains the same. So this is the property of React. So whatever the values that you added, it should be in a set state. And if you use this particular code, it would set the variables and it would keep in the memory, but JSX will not reach this values. So in order to avoid that, we use setState. So I'm going to use setState, and in the setState, I'm going to mention the same array functions over here. So keep in mind, whenever you're setting certain things, assigning some values to the set set variables, what you need to do is, I say variable because this can be changed, whereas the props cannot be changed. So what you need to do is you have to assign it in a constructor block, and wherever you're making any modifications, you have to do it in a set state block. So don't forget that, and I'm just going to mention count colon this dot state dot count plus 1. So each and every time this is going to call set state, and it is going to increase the value. So this is what it says. I can also put some other value as well over here in the set state. So though you are not defined over here, you can put some other values also over here. That is the good thing about set state. You have to put a comma, and you can put name colon mention like this. You can do it. So that is one of the best way of React way of representing the set state. You can also add some other variables if you want to. So we'll save it and we'll go and see what happens. I'll clear that, and if I just click this, yeah, the counter value is increased. And if you take a look at it, for the first value, I'll also refresh and I'll show it once again if you have not noted it. I'm refreshing it. Counter is 0, and I'm clicking on this button. The counter value has been increased to 1, whereas when I put that console.log, counter value is 0 in the log. Any reasons that you can able to think? The reason is the call towards the set state is asynchronous. Asynchronous means, say for example, there is a particular person in a hotel who serves food. So you are ordering him a specific pizza, and some other people is ordering a burger. So this guy would prepare the food at whenever you order him, and depends upon when the food is prepared, either it is pizza or burger, whichever is getting ready first, he will serve to that particular persons. So he won't wait for the first person. First person has came over there and he ordered pizza, and he won't wait for him. So whenever the food is ready, he will go and deliver it to him. So take this as an example. That is called asynchronous. So over here, I'm setting this, and I'm also having a log over here. So what happens over here in the workflow is this is ready first, and then this is getting served. So that is the way like this React set state works. So in order to avoid it, what needs to be done is we used to put a callback function. So how to do a callback function? So you have a set state, right? So over here, what you have to do is you have to put a function, and the function is a callback function. So like this is ES6 JavaScript. Later in the tutorial, I'll explain. I mean, I have a separate set of tutorial. I'm just planning to have a separate set of tutorial for ES6 JavaScript alone to know like how to use and where to use. And over here, I am going to put the console.log message saying that the value, whatever it is, this dot state dot count. I'm going to put this value, save it, take a look at the browser, clear it. I'm going to click 1, 2, 3. Yep, everything is perfect. Over here, I'm intentionally making it as synchronous. So this is what the set state is, and now we are going to use state in Reactjs. By this way, we have to use it. So there is another way where like if I want to, in your project, you might come under a situations where you need to call this particular method more than once or more than twice. Say for example, I want to click a button 5 times at the, I mean, if I click a button for a single time, this particular method needs to execute 5 times. At that time, do this value would be set 5 times? We will see that in the next video.